Okay, are we rolling? Yeah, we are. Uh, it's still a bit far. Let's see what I can do here. Or is it just? Oh, okay. That's what I was doing. I had the thing zoomed on wrong. Well, hey, this is BM Punk here, back at it again with a new video. I got a new camera. I'm figuring it out. I might get it returned. I don't know yet when or if I will, but if it's not doing what I want it to do, I'll just get it returned and get my $450 back. But other than that, things are good. Life's good. Everything's good. And today I'm going to kind of talk about something that strikes a bit close to home, and it's the concept of incel culture and how people think in regards to that whole thing. And really and truthfully, do I think it's a good way to get over things? Like if you're a guy who's pursuing women or relationships and you don't find any success from it, so you kind of decide to give up on it and like kind of focus on yourself. Where and in that area, I that's fine. That's perfectly fine for me. But I think where it's unhealthy and where it can just lead to you just being put in a very bad mental state, though, is if you kind of subscribe yourself to this whole mindset of, oh, yeah, maybe I am not happy. Yeah, women don't like me. Oh, yeah, screw women. And that is an unhealthy mindset to have, because then you're kind of gonna just put yourself in a position where if you go on these incel sites or like go to these communities and engage with this, you're making your whole identity the fact that, okay, yeah, I don't like people because I'm lonely and people don't like you. And I feel like the most healthy way to get over this kind of thing isn't to, do any of that necessarily. And it's by like legit just, if you think that people genuinely don't like you as you are at the moment, then yeah, work on that. You know, do some looks maxing, kind of work on your social skills, and let's do a bunch of stuff that can help you improve. Like, okay, what's your wardrobe looking like? What do you wear most of the times when you're out? Like, get some more new clothes. Look at what other people are wearing. Ask somebody to take pictures for your Tinder instead of just using random selfies you took in your bedroom. And you will see a significant difference, or stop using Tinder altogether and just go out, dress good, and kind of get better and more confident with the way you talk to people instead of doing this. And then you'll be square. But let me tell you more about the incel culture and migto. A lot of people just say the full thing, men going their own way, but I like to call it migto for some reason. And the deal with incel culture and migto and all that isn't really people focusing on themselves and trying to improve. It's just like when you see most of the comments, it's very defeatist and it's not happy, and they're just constantly like complaining, blaming their problems on women and everybody in the world. And they kind of think it's over for themselves. And don't get me wrong, one thing I'll give them is that there's improvement on those sites too, because they have been working towards getting rid of some of the more violent people within these communities too. Like there's this one site I used to frequent, we'll get into that later, that mentioned that they banned a bunch of people because they were trying to like kind of disassociate themselves from the violence that incel culture and migto is based on, which is good, but I think it's still bad. If you're a damaged person, you shouldn't seek help from other damaged people. That's how I put it. That's how I put it. Because then when I, went into these forums at first, I initially kind of did it because I felt lonely, not only with, just getting a girlfriend and stuff, but just making friends in general. It just felt like something super hard and foreign to me, even though I never really made much of an attempt to try and make new friends. You know, I'd never go to any social places, and the only time I go out is when I'm going to work. And, you know, anytime, anywhere in between my commute to work, like the quick trip I'll go to, or the occasional subway. So, in my mind, I think that, okay, yeah, I can't make friends because, you know, most of the people at work are either older than me or younger than me. You know, when you have that kind of entry level job where you're that in between age that's least likely to work there. So when you're there, it's like either older people who are like parents and have kids most likely, or underage kids. You know, they're not really people you see yourself optimally hanging out with, because ideally you see yourself hanging out with people your age. Besides the underage thing, I feel like that's kind of a bad mentality to have, because if somebody's older than you or slightly younger than you and they're not underage specifically, then yeah, try talking to them, strike up a conversation with them, and try and see what they're into. And, you know, maybe there's something you could share common ground with and have a good conversation about them with, other than thinking, oh man, this person's old, so screw it, or this is just some youngin', you know, I can't learn anything from them, too. It's so weird. But yeah, the reason I went to an incel community is because I felt lonely. And I didn't know this stuff before and know that I could do this initially. So yeah, I felt lonely and wanted to talk to people who were also lonely, in hopes that I could form a connection based on the loneliness that other people share with me, as a form of mutual relatability, even though I felt like that was so dumb too, because there's a bunch of stuff I'm into. You know, I'm into video games, anime to some extent, although I'm sort of starting to fall off from that a bit. It's getting a bit weird and stale. If I'm watching an anime, it has to be something that's a unique artistic experience and not just something that follows the Naruto, Dragon Ball Z blueprint. In a sense, you know, I don't watch shows like that anymore. In fact, I barely watch anime, even the unique ones. I think I am starting to outgrow it. I don't even wear anime shirts in public. But yeah, that's an interest. I'm into martial arts, not only just watching it, but also practicing in it too, to some degree. I'm into nature. I like hiking, I like grass, you know, trees, flowers, looking at it and just seeing, you know, wildlife and how they operate. Well, the safe like wildlife. I'm not extreme about it where I'd go into a swamp with alligators or anything like that, but you know, staring at birds, like examining squirrels, taking pictures of birds and stuff, that's stuff I love doing. And I find it very enjoyable, and I find a lot of joy in that. I'm into art, various kinds of art, you know, animation, Renaissance art, painting, mixed media, anything. I find it interesting, and I could spend hours and hours and hours talking about it, and yeah, will not get tired of it at all, especially if it's abstract art. You know, I've also picked up an interest in DIY cooking and stuff. I like to cook. It's kind of the basic shit where it's like white rice, unseasoned chicken, and then broccoli or some kind of greens. You know, the blueprint healthy food type beat, you know, and yeah, it's like there's a bunch of stuff that I'm interested in that I could talk about with somebody, but I think it's just how I execute it and how I walk up to somebody and talk to them that, you know, I need to work on. And I feel like people need to think about this and think about, you know, what went wrong in this encounter I had with this girl, or in this whole timeline of me pursuing this girl. I could say that, yeah, maybe it had something to do with my looks or my social status at the moment. But I think, moreover, it had nothing to do with that all the time. Maybe there are some cases where it did have to do with my physical appearance, but in most cases, it definitely had to do with how I handled things, and, you know, the way I went about pursuing them, where I had a serious, I brought this up in an older video. I might talk about it again so I could like really bring the points back home, because I don't really like that video all that much. So I think that's, you know, a bunch of stuff people have to think about too. And, you know, really and truthfully, I went through this situation where I was kind of, and this was somewhat recently, and I think it was only after, like, I did it one time, and I just got this reaction where they actually just looked at me like, where they seemed very disapproved with the way I acted. That made me realize, yeah, what am I doing with my life right now? Why am I doing this? Why did I feel I had the need to act like this and to talk to her like this when she did this to me? You know, she legit just said no. That is legit the best way you could get rejected. You know, the worst way I could have gotten a stern rejection was by, you know, instead of them just saying no, I'm not interested, you know, I full on get roasted and they like roast me as to, you know, why they're not interested. You know, it's got nothing to do with, you know, just saying no, and it's just, okay, I'm getting full on insulted now and I just wanted to, you know, go out and have a pizza with them or a coffee or whatever. And or, you know, which is the worst of the worst, you know, scammers, you know, people legit just trying to scam me, you know, seeing the desperation and doing that. And I realized, okay, wow, I'm kind of getting back into that habit of growing disillusioned with people. You know, it's not just women, but just people too, because sometimes I think I've done this with a couple guys too and acted up on some guys, you know, in DMs also. And it wasn't healthy. This was a while ago, but recently I started doing it again. And it's not in the way where, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not in the way where I'm just saying all the bad stuff that can come out of my mouth. I'm legit just, you know, just being a bit too honest and obviously making it obvious that I'm mad that, you know, they said no or that they were trying to do this to me and scam me and stuff. And, you know, I feel like even if, yeah, I did feel wronged in those situations, it's always best to kind of be, you know, the good person and straight up just say, and just, you know, end it off on a good note. Like, always end it off on a good note, no matter how bad things go, too. Because then you're just gonna put yourself in a position where it's like, yeah, they're gonna blast that on their story saying, oh yeah, look at this idiot cussing me in his story because I said no. And look at this guy acting up because I said, you know, and it wasn't healthy. And I shouldn't have done that too. And I feel like there are better ways and unhealthy ways of getting over it. And, you know, you just need to know which is which, you know, which is the best way to get over it. Growing disillusioned with women or people in the world in general. And, you know, you kind of just put yourself in a ball because you think the world doesn't like you because somebody on Tinder swiped left on you or you got shadowed by someone in your DMs, when you know that's not the interactions you have with the people in your life. You don't really, and yeah, that's the thing. You become very ungrateful for the people you have in your life who are interested in you and do want to talk to you because of this whole thing. Like, yeah, like if you're in a job, talk to your coworkers. You know, just strike up a conversation with your coworkers. You know, especially the ones who are like kind of open to you and kind of like making conversation with you. Like, yeah, talk to that guy, talk to that girl, you know? You know, if you live with somebody, like, yeah, talk to your family more. You know, do something other than that, you know? It's an interesting thing. It's a very interesting concept that, you know, I don't 100% know the grasp of, but I'm trying to get a better grasp of it, and I'm trying to get better in the way I do things too, and how I talk to people and how my conversations go. Because I can admit I've done, again, you know, as I've mentioned, I've done some stuff that I'm severely ashamed of, and you know, I think this year is a good year, or well, this time, screw year, this time is a good time to kind of think it through for myself and make me kind of get better at just doing things. And hopefully by the end of the year, or you know, when no I'm doing it again, not by the end of the year, but when I finally figure things out, I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be good. I'm not gonna be depressed anymore. I'm gonna be happy, and I'm gonna finally see things work out. And if it doesn't, it's fine. You know, at the end of the day, I did all these things, and I feel like me being single doesn't necessarily negate that stuff now. because I have all of this now. Instead, just because I don't have a girlfriend or I don't have that much friends, it's fine. I'm fine. But that's a healthy way to get over things and not like making your whole identity based on just, okay, being single and sad and lonely and friendless all the time. But yeah, that's all I gotta say to that. Bye. How do I turn this off? It's kind of it's a bit of an awkward way to turn it off because normally the thing's right in front of me, but it's not. I have to kind of get behind there, or do I? Is it still recording? Yeah, it's still recording. Okay. Let's see. I gotta clean my room. Hmm. Where? Okay, there it is.